your book, like what you said about the mass market India being really not a mass market place sounds very counterintuitive. So how did you arrive at this?
I think two things. One is I think we went on a wrong chase. We were sent on a wild goose chase. Because if you look at numbers, right, I mean, big numbers were thrown around to say 350 million middle class consumers, 500 million people below the age of 25, and stuff like that, and that whipped up the euphoria. But if you cut to the real numbers, I mean, there are not more than 50 million people who have ownership of cars in the country. There are about 600 million people who do not have access to toilets and pure drinking water, right? So the size of the middle class really can't be 350 million. And if you look at the kinds of brands which have been successful, the brands which have been successful are the ones who have taken the bottom of the pyramid and wanted to make them look good in status. So brands like Samsung, who haven't stripped down their products, but have given more for less in that sense. So even the bottom of the pyramid, even the poor customer that we're trying to sort of attract, actually want an upgrade in lifestyle. So what I'm proposing for is a slightly more real sort of investigation of the size that's really the consumption population in the country, and a slightly more upgrade market thinking rather than a mass market thinking. I mean, the belief that we will strip down a refrigerator and strip it down to a level that stops looking like a refrigerator, or we will take a car and strip it down to a level that stops looking like a car, and poor people will come and lap it up, is not going to happen in this market.
This whole BOP thing, is it a myth? Is it like, I mean,
there are myths and legends of say people like Chacha's Chole Bhature, that he sells his wares from 12:45 to 1:45, and if you're even 5 minutes late, you won't get a morsel of food. So the whole idea that if you're popular, you are good. If you're selling more, you're good. Which means that from a consumption perspective, we are a market for relevance rather than differentiation. So because most consumers are having their first or second experiences with consumption. So you're buying either your first car or your second big car, you're buying your first DTH connection, you're buying your first flat screen television. And the costs of going wrong are much higher than being safe. So you would much rather go with things that the world has had experience with rather than buy something which is very, very niche and go wrong with it. So if you look at across categories, top 3 players explain 70% of the market share or 60% of the market share. So Maruti, Hyundai would pretty much explain 50% of the market share in cars. And similarly, take any category, we are much more lopsided at the top, and the challenger brands are not doing so well. I think the solution for challenger brands is to pretend leadership, to come with scale and to show that you're big. And that's the formula which should work for challenger brands in a market like ours.
So essentially, like, why, I mean, advertisers, got to blame for perpetrating the stereotype or the myth that, we are a market like we are.
Yeah.
So isn't it the onus on them to depict the reality of India, get the real insight?
Yeah. I think there are enough examples of advertising and marketing sort of lagging behind the real truth in the marketplace. So for example, if you look at the youth stereotype, right, there's a typical youth marketing ad where you throw a bunch of people jumping in the air and you throw in a basketball and a bean bag and a guitar and some spiked hair and tattoos, and that becomes your youth ad. But that's too much, I would say, a Bombay view of Indian youth, right? If you really go out and see the real youth in India in places like Kota or smaller towns like Pilibhit, I mean, they don't want a life which is unplanned. In fact, they want a life which is planned. They're seeking stability. They are seeking to get into an engineering institute, get a job. They study very well. I mean, they're not the ones who are all the time just seeking sex and stuff like that, right? So I think the generation of youth today is a practical generation. It is going after things in a very, very focused way. But a lot of advertising marketing portrayal sort of doesn't get that right view to the youth. Similarly, the other segments that we haven't gotten right. So for example, the senior segment, the partition generation, as I call them, is a huge segment. So brands like Kesari Tours run second innings as a tour, which is the best selling tour for them. So, but there are very, very few markets or businesses which are targeting that segment in a very, very focused way. And if you look at it, this was the generation which saved a lot of money worrying that their kids will turn nincompoop and therefore they should have lots of savings to account for them. But as it turns out, the kids have become self-sufficient, they're doing well. So this generation is flush with money for tourism, for buying a car, buying a new house. But advertising and marketing has typically sort of obliterated the silver hair from any depiction, so to say. The only role an old guy has in Indian advertising right now is reading newspaper and giving an approval nod, so to say. Similarly with women, I think the portrayal of women is not as progressive as what women, the kind of role most women are playing in Indian society today. I mean, this is example of this lady who was at KBC, right? And the husband was sitting in the audience, and he pressed the red buzzer asking her to stop the game and quit. And she overrode him, went on to play KBC and won 1 crore of rupees. I mean, and that's a middle class Indian household. So that's where the women are today. They're riding a lot of households in today's times. But I think our depiction in marketing and targeting in marketing still lags that reality.